Ever wondered what the climb was like for some of the most influential figures in the music industry? How did they get there? Where did they come from?
Scott Borchetta and Allison Jones were like, show me your ugly. I call myself ugly country, and I think it's a compliment. And I showed them some of my ugliest songs, and not only were they not scared of them, they said, oh, that's in the first batch. We got to go cut.
This is Road to the Arena, an ongoing series from Triad Music, whose goal is to create cutting-edge technology designed to eliminate the mystery surrounding money in the music industry. Today's guest is Mae Estes, one of the fastest growing female artists in Nashville, Tennessee. And after you listen to the episode, you'll know exactly why. She coined the term ugly country to describe the experiences she had growing up. And she sings about things that are real and that people don't want to say. And she is an unbelievable talent, and we can't wait for you to hear her story. With that said, this episode has a couple of moments where there might be some language that's not suitable for all audiences, so keep that in mind if you're in the car with your children or if you're at home listening with your children. We can't wait for you to hear this, and we know you'll enjoy it. Without further ado, here's Mae Estes. Mae, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Excited to be here.
All right, so we're going to ask you three crazy questions first. Then we're going to get into, and then we'll get into your story.
All right. Yes. Okay. So quickly, TikTok. What do you feel about all these artists coming out of TikTok? They're working, they're doing all this stuff. They're laying all their songs out there. Everybody's hearing them. And you start at the age of 7, writing songs from Arkansas.
Yes.
There you go. I love Arkansas, by the way. How do you feel about that? Like, you've done it all organically. Like, here you are, you just got signed.
Yeah.
You're ready to like blow us all away. And how do you feel about the whole TikTok trend?
So I've had a lot of success on TikTok too, actually. I have like 350,000 followers on there.
Nice.
Which is wild because all I do on TikTok is post my singing and my songwriting.
I love it.
Any of those people that found me and followed me heard me singing.
I love it.
So it's been just as cool of a tool for me, though I haven't had the crazy viral pop off that sent me into stardom, I would say.
Right.
I just treat it as one more tool in my belt, and I'm super happy for anyone who has found
That's great.
it to be the only avenue they needed. So
Yeah.
definitely has pissed me off some days, I'm sure, where I'm like, why isn't that working for me? But mostly I think it's a really cool opportunity for musicians.
Do you think it helped you get your deal?
I'm sure numbers helped me a lot more than I would like to admit. So I'm just grateful for any of them that I had, I guess.
That's cool.
How often do you post on TikTok?
I go through spurts. I dove in 2020 like everybody else and posted at least twice a day, every day for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Went live once a week for a year and a half.
Oh, that's great.
That's really cool.
I was super dedicated and found it paid off, but it's very hard to maintain for too long, especially once you start touring and writing full time again. So
yeah, I bet it's a lot of work. I mean, it seems very time consuming for sure.
yeah, and I think none of us know what works really, but I found that my best engagement was when I was responding to every single comment. And when you have a viral video, like I've had several videos get over 1 million views, and then you've got thousands and thousands of comments on those videos.
Walk through them all.
Yeah, so I'll respond to every single one of them.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
That is amazing.
But the app itself also locks you out.
Oh, it does?
So you can only comment to so many, and it's like you're commenting too fast and it'll lock you out for several hours. So there's just
Oh, that's ridiculous. I didn't know that.
lots of tricky ways you have to work
And
around
do you
it.
do the same thing with Instagram? Do you post reels? Or-
I do. I haven't found the same algorithmic success on Instagram as I have on TikTok, just where it's throwing me to random audiences.
Right.
I know people have that. I just, I guess, haven't been able to do everything as well as I'd like to. You kind of have to pick. In my experience, I've had to pick an avenue and stick with that. So I could do really well on TikTok. But if I was trying to maintain every comment on TikTok, every comment on Instagram, every comment on Facebook, every comment on YouTube, ultimately the ball drops somewhere. I haven't been able to juggle all of that. So I definitely haven't given Instagram the same treatment that I did TikTok.
But wait a second. You've been working on your craft for so many years, guitar, singing, writing songs, doing the whole thing, being awesome at the music part of and I'm a music nerd, right?
Yeah.
And some people are blowing up in music and their whole thing that they're doing is making silly videos. That doesn't bother you. There's nothing about that that's like,
No, because I have done a really good job of not comparing myself to anybody else. I see art as, first of all, art is subjective, and we all have to remember that. It'll piss you off when you're trying to commercialize and monetize an art,
Right.
but you got to just see it as that, and that's something I've always done. So those people are not only doing things different than I'm doing, but I can't be them and they can't be me. And so,
Martin, right?
yeah,
You know that quote? It's like, the only person you can be is yourself because everybody else is taken.
everybody's already taken. Yeah.
I love Dolly.
No, I
Anything
mean-
Dolly does is perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a massive influence of mine. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten frustrated. I'm not going to act like I haven't. You can go look on my socials. I'm very open on all my social media. So I'll get on there ranting.
I love it.
People will comment and they'll be like, oh my God, I've missed you. Like, where'd your post go? And I'll respond and be like, I post every single day. The algorithm just hasn't shown me. And that's frustrating when you're showing up and the people who have clicked to follow that they are interested in what you're doing still aren't seeing your content. That's really frustrating to me. But it's not more of someone else having success that I'm not having. My path has never gone the way you would think it's supposed to in a storybook. So I'm just settled into that now, that this is not going to look how I dreamt it up. And it's going to pay off in the end, that I had to go the long way around, I think.
That's a good attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing too is, you just talked about Dolly, and she was a big influence for you. And for me, like, what I love about you is that you're country. I mean, you are like, you're Arkansas. Like, you literally are like taking it back to like the Dolly, the Tanya, the maybe a little Leanne Rimes-ish. Like, I mean, you're like back to country, which I love. Like, I mean, not that I love the commercial like pop country, but I mean, I love the country. So do you have any, like, who's your favorite country artist? Like, who'd you grow up going like, I want to be like?
Well, I think Dolly is the best example of the kind of career I wanted. And that's why I could probably have had a lot more success so I'm from South Arkansas, which is right outside of Texarkana, Texas.
Love it.
So I could have moved to Texas and made bukus of money touring and like built a fan base quicker and things like that. But I wanted to build a massive commercial career where I can expand much larger than the music itself and much larger than just me as an artist. I want to build a brand and a business that can change lots of things in the world and, affect a lot of people, much bigger than just the genre of country music.
Right.
And
I
so
love it.
that's something Dolly obviously has done with, my nephew gets her books from her library, once a month. And like those kind of things, I aspire to branch out of my music itself.
That's wonderful. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
What about Spotify versus Apple Music? Any differences in your strategy or what you do there? Or
all the DSPs are kind of looped in together for me. I am personally a Spotify user just because I dove into the family plan they have. So I pay for all of my family's Spotify. Don't you ever let them say I never did nothing nice for them, because they all are mooching off my Spotify.
No, I did that not to be nice. I did that so that I could stop having to be served my children's music.
Oh, yeah. Everyone gets their own profile.
Yeah, I was like, yo, you got to stop messing with my release radar. Like, this is not okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's me and my husband. He has a very different taste than I do in music, and we would be stealing each other's, and I was like, okay, whoa. But so Spotify is what I use personally. So I like the playlisting there. I create a playlist for each song I put out. I go ahead and make a playlist based off that vibe
Oh,
too.
that's a great idea.
Which is a great idea, but also it's fun and it helps you explore. So I'll pull from different genres, whatever the kind of theme is, and go from there. It's just another creative way to express myself. But I've also followed those playlists a little closer, like which ones are the goal playlists to be on in Nashville specifically or for country music. So mostly just more knowledgeable about Spotify, but I've gotten to meet and hang out with both teams, and I'm optimistic I'll have success on both of them.
Yeah.
Mike asked that question because he was around. Were you around at the time when, well, not Apple Music, but iTunes?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So Mike was actually kind of around. There was
He worked for Steve Jobs.
I'm going to brag on him for a second, but he was around with that company at a time when the world was trying to figure out what to do with streaming.
No, before that, there's
Even-
even to digital music.
Yeah, digital music in general. Yeah, not streaming, just digital music file sharing, right?
Well,
Yep.
what happened was there was Napster, and Napster was illegal. And Napster was you stuck.
Oh, I forgot about Napster.
Napster was you stuck your CD in your computer and copied the songs onto your hard disk. And then Napster let you browse other people's hard disks.
Yeah, I was a LimeWire girly
Yeah, same.
So anyway, and then
and ashamed of it.
so
But
Napster got in trouble, and then Steve was like, "Let's do a legal Napster," basically. And he went to the labels, and because he was only on the Mac, which had 2% market share, PCs were the other 98%, the labels foolishly said sure. So and he had this really rigid idea of how to do it. Every song was 99 cents, and it was all download. The streaming wasn't ready for streaming anyway. And then he just kept it. I helped design it with him. It was like really simple, elegant, and then because this is right when the iPod was a big hit. So basically, he said they're already copying legally. People would copy legally the songs into their hard disk and then load them on their iPod. And this way, you could just buy a song at a time, right?
Yep.
So, and it was amazing how quickly it was a great idea, and everybody loved it, and it changed everything. So, but I was just curious about. So, one of the things this is kind of a strange question, but also, so like, you're an artist, right? Which means that, I'm assuming that when you create something, you don't create it for any reason other than you're inspired to create it. You don't do like, I'm going to do a song that's like this or something. I'm not going to do, right? You don't sit there and say, I'm going to write a slow song, or something just pops in your head, right? Like you get inspired.
I would say generally, yes, but I think Nashville works very hard to make sure that we don't create that way.
But this is what I was trying to ask, was that like maybe 30 years ago or something, somebody was just an innocent artist, and then the manager told them what to do and where to go and everything. But now you're so involved, even like you were just talking about with TikTok, you're so involved in the commerce, you can't not be, right? So all those barriers are gone versus like, oh, they like your album. Oh, great. It's like that, right? So did you envision it that way? Like I just, anybody who's an artist, which I'm not, I just assume that like you started from a pure idealism standpoint to just become that way, right? So
yeah,
how did it affect you? Like, did you lose your innocence because it's so? I mean, you know what I mean? You're closer to the commerce angle than you might have been 30 or 40 years ago. That's all I need, right?
absolutely. And so I just met my manager, even 3 years ago. So I had to do every single part of my job, whether I wanted to or not, if I thought this product that I had organically created without the thought of commercializing it or how well is this going to do, who's actually going to like it or not. It's just, I feel inspired to create this and I love it. And that's where it stops. But does get to a point where the word exposure is what comes to mind the most. All of my monetizing, commercializing, any of those thoughts stem from the need for exposure in my mind. So I have this awesome product and I believe in this product, and still that's how I feel about my music today. If it's not crazy popular, I have the belief that it's because it hasn't gotten to the people that it was created for yet.
Right.
Which is like any product, it doesn't have to be music. So where I'm motivated to understand the analytics and commercialism of music is it controls the exposure in my mind.
Yeah.
So how do I get to those people? Because I'm also, polarizing is a strong word, but I kind of am one of those polarizing artists, and I want to be. I'm not for everybody, but the people that I'm for are going to like die on that hill that they believe in this music. And the people that don't aren't just going to be like, not for me. They're going to be like, I don't like that girl at all. I think, she's singing about stuff that is, raunchy, and she's like, I don't like what she does.
Either love me or hate me.
Yeah. I would rather.
And she's singing about stuff that is raunchy.
I'm not saying you're going to be a superstar, but pretty much every superstar started.
She is going to be a superstar.
Oh, I'm saying pretty much every.
She's not trying to jinx it.
Started from a place where they were doing something that people told them not to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Without
Absolutely.
every single one. Right?
Yeah,
What are you doing that for?
And that's where we're at, to be transparent. Like, I'm looking for my first radio single right now. I have a massive team behind me for the first time in my life that has direct access to country radio. And
which is kind of scary, right?
no one has any idea what to do with me in a way that's frustrating to me, because I'm like, I have all these great songs. And you're telling me none of them really work. But so we're trying to figure out what that audience even is, and like how I'm still me and still a little left to center like I am, but that we don't pigeonhole it too much to where it can't be swallowed remotely easy in a massive audience, like radio. So
yeah, but what's great about you is you're so authentic, right? You're authentically yourself, and that'll be great. Like, just like you said, I mean, you're going to come out kind of like balls to the wall. You know what I mean? Like, and you should, because that's who you are.
Yeah.
And you should be able to be showcased in your actual talent. And like you said, people are going to love it or they're not. But I think more people are going to love it because I think more people want that than actually like you, Mike, or somebody else might think. You know what I mean? Like I love that. Like I love that raw, bring it to me.
Well,
you know
also
what I mean?
it's the way things are moving.
Absolutely. People want
forever,
that.
Yeah. So forever it was about like, there's a static need in the market.
Right.
And, oh, this just worked.
Yeah.
So do you know what we'll do? Like, it's like a Marvel movie.
Right.
Guess what? If you make a Marvel movie, it doesn't usually lose money.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Also,
It's just
not ever winning an Oscar.
exactly.
But it turns out that there's all sorts of different people out there. And now we've got these people that are coming into the world, like a Zach Bryan or this Oliver Anthony or even Megan Maroney. Or like, there's been several people who have found that, oh, wait, it turns out that you don't have to just become the next Morgan Wallen. You could just be you.
Exactly.
And because of technology, we can actually go find your audience,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's kind of what you're saying. But the industry hasn't operated that way.
Well, they're almost afraid, I think, to jump out of the box.
They haven't. Well,
Right.
it's harder to be in a position where you might make a bad choice
right. Well, I think that's
more than ever.
Mhm.
Once upon a time, like go back to like the 90s.
Yeah.
And you're just making $12.99 for every CD that you're selling. And like, things were just rolling. Right. So it's harder to take a chance. But people are starting to do it. And then, they also don't sign you unless they think you're awesome.
absolutely. No,
So,
you would not.
yeah.
Yeah. And you got signed by your
Yeah.
label's great label, right? So,
They are.
I mean, obviously they know what they have.
So they see that. I'm sure people are starting to see this change and you might just be on the front side of it.
Love it.
Speaking of that,
I'm excited for you.
I am too.
Thank you.
One last crazy question before we ask you for your Genesis story.
Ooh.
All right. So is AI going to take over the music industry
Oh,
or the world?
God, I hope
probably the
not.
world. It scares me to death.
I mean, this kind of relates back to radio. So in my story, I'll talk about how I got a degree in mass media communication before I moved to Nashville, and my focus was radio. And my thesis paper when I graduated was the death of terrestrial radio. And I think this argument is kind of the same as AI in general. Like, I ended up arguing after a lot of interviews with DJs and people in radio and doing my own analysis through a lot of it, that the personality that comes with terrestrial radio, the DJs, the way music is presented and it not just being an automated. That's why, like, for example, Spotify has a DJ feature now.
Right.
So it's still automated, it's AI, but there's a personality aspect to just delivering the music. I think that is what I ended up debating would keep terrestrial radio alive longer, was having the personalities, which I think now has kind of turned into podcasts or turned into, Apple Music has this live DJ situation right now where they're mixing their playlists and their DJs and things like that. But I think the live aspect of an actual personality genuinely and authentically reacting to things is what is going to help fight AI to an extent. I don't know. It's really, again, small town Arkansas girl here. I don't have a whole lot of technological knowledge when it comes to that. It has shocked me how crazy the AI stuff can get. Just like recreating like dead and gone country legends vocals on something that sounds like they recorded that themselves. And so it's definitely scary. But
What's scary is not today, it's a couple of years from now. So it's because it's just going to get, every time there's a step, it's a big step.
Yep.
It's like
Huge.
crazy. I mean, the NVIDIA guy yesterday at their big user conference was demoing this feature where he could say one word and it would generate this beautiful 3D image of the word.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
There's an app that you can download that I tried it once. My husband, I have twin daughters and my husband passed away, and I have a voicemail from him. So it's like 3 words, and I uploaded his 3 words into this app, and I could literally type out what I wanted to say, and it was his voice.
Oh
it was
my
his
gosh.
actual voice telling, reading like a whole paragraph to me, and I was the creepiest thing. I deleted it right away. I just wanted to see how well it actually worked. It was creepy, so creepy.
Well, so there's one thing that I love. Some of my family is from the Memphis area.
Mm.
The rest not from the South.
yeah.
And one thing that they always said in childhood was, well, that was made with love. Like it was like that was cooked, or if you cooked something or whatever, it was made with love. And that's almost like what you're kind of describing.
Yeah.
It's like AI, there's not even maybe your husband's voice.
Right.
Like sure. All of everything that you could analyze and break down into a data set was just like what his voice was like, but it was missing that something that maybe is hopefully that thing that AI won't replace, especially in something like music.
Well, and just in a live performance, like even right now, we're making edits on my masters of what I just went in and recorded because I had a little bit of a filter on my vocal to make it sound like warmer, velvety, or something you do when you're recording a vocal. And it took away some of the whine or punch or imperfections of my live vocal when I'm performing and genuinely delivering something emotionally.
Sure.
So I'm hoping there is something in a live delivery and emotion that can't be recreated by a computer. But quite frankly, I'm not sure that they couldn't even fool me with my own voice and me be like, oh yeah, I sang that. And it be something completely like, but I would love your opinion too on like, is it a regulation that stops that? How do we slow that down?
That's a good question. Because, audio is not that much data. Video is a lot of data, but audio is not a hard problem, just from a compute standpoint, right? So doing anything with audio, assuming there's a good algorithm, is not that hard to do. You can do it on your phone. You don't need a big cloud server.
Yeah.
So it's kind of bizarre how easy it is to mess around with audio, as Wendy was demonstrating with the word for recreation for late.
Just an app.
It's pretty weird. So,
really
but I think the thing about the regulation of it is it's going to be like a comedy of errors because the people doing the regulating have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't get it. And so,
well, they still don't understand Facebook's revenue model.
Yeah, literally. So
exactly.
They literally like there's.
I told these guys this story in 2018 or 19. We were in Washington D.C. and one of the senators from Washington's a friend of mine, Maria Cantwell, and so she got us into the first Zuckerberg hearing ever. The two joint committees were interviewing him, and it was like this huge deal, and it was all that stuff about fake news and everything in 2018 or so, and so he's sitting there taking questions, and this one senator goes, "Mr. Zuckerberg, how do you make money?" And I'm like,
that's good. Yeah. Like,
and he goes, "Senator, we sell advertising, right?"
Well, so wait a second. If you don't charge your users to sign up,
and I'm like, dude, so the people in charge of regulating are unlikely to have a clue, and they're always going to be like 10 steps behind. So I think it's more that, will the consumers care, or what will they care about versus what will they not? What will they dislike versus what will they like? Like one of the things like he was saying about Marvel movies, it used to be like you'd see a Marvel movie and you're like, oh my God, look at the special effects. And now you're like, yeah, now there's, like anything can be done. Yeah, whatever. It's like they get mind numbing after a while. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's like last week I was in the desert and I saw Madonna in concert at the new arena in Palm Springs. And so what was weird about it was actually a really cool show and it was really theatrical and it was kind of amazing, but there's no band.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no pretense of a band. It was all, the only thing that wasn't pre-recorded was her singing and maybe one or two other solos. And I don't even know if those were.
Although she did lip sync a lot though, or sing along with herself.
I think so
there's a guy,
she did.
One of the best drummers that's ever played in the studio world is a guy named Omar Hakim. And he drummed for Madonna forever. And one time I was at a clinic of his at PASIC, the Percussive Arts Society International Convention. That's how you know you're a nerd. Because you go
I missed
a whole international convention for drumming.
Yeah, that was definitely not on my radar.
Yeah, no, you were invited.
I know.
I just never responded.
I think the invitation.
Yeah.
Junk folder.
Yeah, select all, delete. So, he was asked, so how much of your drumming was in the mix when you were touring with Madonna in the heyday? And he was like, sometimes I'd argue for the hi-hat. It was just all a track.
But she dances a lot, right? So and I get it. There's artists that do, but she's back in the day when I saw her, this is like years ago, but she was like full. I don't know what
she still is.
Yeah.
Still is.
But and especially she's what, 60?
She's 65.
Yeah. She's not dancing like that and singing. Sorry. It's not happening.
That's right.
Well, I was just trying to say, maybe we're being slow. We've been being conditioned for like the not natural.
Well, and my question is, no one cared. Everyone was having a great time.
Well,
Nobody cared at all.
And it's what people even know, because you're talking about, so country music arguably is the one that still is like trying to hold on to this. And majority of major country artists use tracks at the very least.
Sure.
But some of them are up there completely. Their bands are mimicking sounds. They're incredible musicians, and they're not playing because it's easier to play the track and not have to mix live audio. Or
That's right.
so it's all, none of this is new. Showbiz has always been showbiz. But it is, what do people care about?
Now, is money part of that? Is so
Money's
like,
part of
is-
everything.
Yeah. So
Not
is-
about the money until it's about the money. And then
It's all about
all
there you
about-
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like, I've noticed recently, bands, country's always been known as like, hey, you happen to see your friend at some place, hop up here,
Yeah.
sing harmony.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen each other in 4 months, and then just pop does not operate that way.
No
Yeah.
way.
It can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Not a
like,
chance.
but now like the margins in touring, even touring was like the last thing left, right? Like this is where we're making our money. But even now, it's like the margins are so tough. How does that play into what even happens there? I guess I'm curious. We're going to get into your story, I swear.
How does, sorry, refresh
Yeah,
the
so
question
like,
on.
yeah, so you're talking about this track, and then now we've got these major country artists who like might first not have a bass player.
How does it affect your money?
Yeah, like how does the
Yeah.
money and the live performance, like how do you see that interacting?
So I have never personally played with tracks. I lean really traditional. I won't say I'll die on that hill, because I have a lot of fiddle in my music. I have a lot of dobro in my music. Those are all called utility instruments, and they're technically an extra. So right now when I'm not just playing solo acoustic, which is what I'm typically having to do because I'm already going under by just me traveling by myself, playing my own instrument and opening these gigs, I'm still losing money like crazy. So
Wow, that's interesting.
when
Because of the traveling expense.
because of the traveling expense, I have to pay for hotels, I have to pay for food, and the budget is just astronomically low. I just recently signed to a booking agency when I signed my major label deal, and I have used the word unfair more than I can count. And I'm learning to just accept that. I knew the music industry was hard before I ever got into it. I'd like to call myself a realist. I think I'm a pessimist. And I go ahead and expect things to be really hard and not fair. And then I'm pleasantly surprised if things ever go well. That's kind of my approach. I don't recommend that approach in life in general, but I have my reasons for being the way that I am. And it is astonishing to me how I would say I'm, I don't know, a fairly established place in my career now. I have a massive team that is very well respected around me. To still, I would not even be able to, the reason I haven't toured, the reason I've been in Nashville, Tennessee for 9 years and haven't toured until this year, like officially touring and not just taking one-off shows, is because I could not afford to. And now I have to have a touring budget through my label to be able to afford to leave town and go play these shows.
Alone,
Solo acoustic.
Wow,
And that is something people don't talk about. Because and it doesn't take away from me being so grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
That's why I'm out here doing it. But it is the dumbest business decision you could make.
And they're doing that because the headliner's keeping all the money, or
I think I'm sure in some cases, I'm not privy to any of the full budget. Obviously, it's all very wrapped up. But I would say a lot of people are losing money in touring because of how many pieces it's split into, and how many, like, when you're a commercial country career is all I can speak of, but you have everyone that works for you is taking a piece of the pie that is already pretty small. We talk about streaming is that's the worst thing that could have ever happened to the music industry.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it is, it's absolutely disrespectful to art,
Right.
in its purest form.
Absolutely.
That the streaming conversation is completely in defense of the AI movement, I think, is that showing that, like, no, we actually don't give a shit about who is creating this. Because even the artist doesn't make money, much less the actual writers of the song.
and we
that are
need
being
more of it,
performed.
and we need it
Exactly.
fast, and
It-
we don't.
now.
So
Yeah.
They
it's
just want it
all-
out.
Yeah, it's all a conversation that makes sense if you put them side by side, but it definitely, like, doesn't align with how it should be. But again, I guess you're arguing fairness when you're talking about those things, and what is fair anymore.
Exactly.
in love with
100%.
country music.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah,
I
that
like it.
explains what AI and music have to do with one another. I mean, really,
Yeah, it
all
does.
sorts of different directions, but it actually like really kind of gets at this idea of just everything's faster, it's cheaper, and what it's doing is it's removing a margin that once existed, and so now even a really well established label signed artist is having it is finding a hard time, you know, getting out there.
What I meant to say before I got on my tangent, which I warned y'all, I'm a tangent girl.
I love it.
Totally
love
exciting.
Was if I ever choose to use tracks, which could be very soon, like I'm getting to go out with Dierks Bentley later this year, which is a massive tour for me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, those are full band shows, but I'm going to be playing till, you know, I have an arena show coming up that's 14,000 people. And when you're trying to entertain that many people, all I can afford to bring is my skeleton crew, which is I'm playing acoustic guitar, and I have an electric guitar player, and I have a bass guitar player, and I got a drummer, and that's all I got. But when you're listening to my tracks, I got dobro, I got keys, I got steel guitar, I got, you know, like fiddle, I got all kind of stuff on it. So when you're trying to recreate that sound, that's where the tracks come into play. So even if you're just doing them in addition, so that's where I would like have a fiddle in my track, or, you know, things like that make the sound, when you're trying to have like Shania Twain vibes on stage, you can't create that with just.
Which is hard with track because there's no room for error when you have a track. At least if you have a band.
Personally.
I mean, there is no room. When I was performing like way back in the day, like I had a full band. Like I never had to worry about it, right? Like it was like if I messed up, they were always had my back, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, oh shoot, what was that? But now with track, I mean, you cannot mess up. You can't ad lib. Like you are stuck. It is
and
like
it's a count off. Like you're
chorus,
in
4,
your
3, 2, 1.
That's
a different world.
So foreign to me, but like no shade at anybody who chooses to use tracks. I don't think that takes away from your talent or
not at all.
So I think it's hard. Those arguments for sure.
Well, it's an art making the track. Especially if you're heavily involved as an artist, making the track is artistic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it plays its part, but that's how it specifically helps monetarily is, oh yeah, you're taking away another person's job technically. And like, you're not just paying a band member for their performance. You're paying their travel to get there. They have to sleep somewhere.
Why do you think EDM is so big in the music industry?
Yes.
2 dudes and a computer.
Yeah, that's right.
And sell out a 200,000.
I really got to dive into that, man. Y'all think I could sing country over some
paid like
beats?
Right, for doing nothing. Right, yes.
So
yeah, you totally could.
Right.
I really should have gone into the kids entertainment world. I have a nephew who's 2, and he watches like all of the YouTube people who have just a green screen in their living room, and they're creating the kids entertainment shows. I'm like, that's where I went wrong. That's what I should have done.
Yeah. Long range though. Feels like you got a better plan.
Oh man.
All right.
You know.
Speaking of long range.
Yeah,
we spend most of the podcast talking about these 3 questions, but like,
hey, I loved this. This was awesome.
Hey, start back at the beginning.
Yeah, give us your. Yeah, I know she has to go, but like, let's give us a quick where you started.
Yeah, tell us. Your story.
So I'm from Hope, Arkansas. All my family's still there. Pretty small town in South Arkansas. I started singing officially when I was 7. And I grew up rodeoing, and so I sang the national anthem at a rodeo I was in when I was 7. Wow. My mom ran the books, and they played, speaking of Leanne Rhymes, they played Leanne Rhymes singing the anthem, and I was just a sassy little brave one, and told my mom, why are you playing this track? You got the real thing right here. Like, live entertainer, what are you doing? Wasting it.
How old were you?
7.
7 years old. Love it.
Wow.
Yeah, so she gave me a microphone and sent me out to embarrass myself for the first time, and just caught the bug and realized what power you had to connect with an entire audience of strangers. And the anthem is another way to get like undivided attention. So that's kind of where I started. So, but yeah, I just kind of caught the bug and realized I could affect people's emotions, you know, with something that I also loved, and my emotions were affected by it. And somehow it like opens this channel where I feel seen, they feel seen. And I don't know, it's just it's a spiritual experience to me. And so caught the bug at 7, started writing in my diary that turned into poetry, that turned into singing. I just, come from a broken home, every kind of way you can break it, and had a lot of feelings and things to process, and not a lot of places to put them. And so that's where music kind of started for me, was just, that was my safe haven, and where I physically expressed myself by singing my heart out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the words of what I was feeling that that piece of paper couldn't tell me I was being too dramatic or that my feelings were wrong or anything like that. And so it's where I dove in. And
It's funny. You can get away with being more emotional singing than talking.
yeah.
Right.
And I tend to be emotional when I'm talking also, but that's why I probably should shut up and sing more than anything. But from a young age, like my mom loved traditional country music. And so I was raised on Tammy Wynette and Kitty Wells and Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn and these women who were singing about stuff I didn't even understand at the time. But they taught me quickly that it was okay for me to say whatever I was feeling, and that not only okay, it was important to do that. And so I set my sights on Nashville from a really young age because it was Music City, USA. And that was the home of country music. And if you wanted to make it here, you had to be here. And that is still how Nashville operates today, is you got to be present to win. And so that's where I set my sights. And I grew up just playing on AM radio shows, singing classic country, singing at all the Opries and hayrides around Arkansas. There was not really a live music scene other than singing old classic country covers with these bands, and really cut my teeth that way. And then I wanted to come tour Belmont when I was a sophomore in high school. So my mom took me to Nashville for the first time, and we toured Belmont. And I think back then it was like $30,000 tuition. So it's ungodly now, but I come from an awesome supportive family, but I don't come from any money or resources of any kind. And so that was just a little out of the question. And I had an offer to go to a school called Henderson State University in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and had all kind of in-state scholarships. I was an honored grad in high school and college and did really well in school. And so I was going to pocket a lot of scholarship money and have all my school taken care of. And it just seemed really silly to turn that down at the time.
Absolutely.
And I was a first generation college graduate. So I think that played into it for me, was just proving to myself and my family that, I could do this. And so I decided to go to Henderson, and I graduated in 3 years instead of 4 because I wanted to be in Nashville so damn bad.
Wow.
That's cool.
Was just playing and singing and writing the whole time I was there, and got my degree in mass media communication and focused on radio because I thought that was the closest I could get to music at the time. Turns out radio does not have a whole lot to do with music.
Right.
And, but I ran a radio show while I was there. So that was sitting in a room like, DJ Mae, it's raining outside. Here's some Def Leppard. Found out I was not a radio DJ. And
That was good though.
Yeah, it was good. I liked
Don't sell
it.
yourself too
I can always fall back on it when terrestrial radio dies off.
I figured out why I love her so much and like why she reminds me of myself. But her birthday's one day after mine.
Oh my gosh.
She's Scorpio, baby.
We are crazy
Yep.
Scorpios.
Yep.
You poor men are trapped. in a booth with
There
us
you
right
go.
now.
Yeah.
I tried to ask Wendy what that was, and she like wouldn't. I mean, like
I was like,
I
really?
was like, give me like the bullet list of Scorpio-ness.
Passionate.
Very.
Okay.
That's the nicest word.
But more tactically, like what happens?
As a,
They're afraid in the
Like,
corner.
manage our expectations. Like we're having dinner. Like
What's next?
Mhm.
Is there a tantrum coming? Or like,
No, we
We don't
throw
throw
tantrums.
tantrums.
so
Oh.
We don't have to.
Mm-mm. No.
Okay, I get it now. That's
Okay,
we're
that's-
good. Everything's clear.
I'm just making a little eye contact with you fellas. I'm gonna tell you all I need to tell you. Just kidding. But yeah, Scorpios, I love that. But yeah, I graduated from school, and that was just the beginning. I was on Craigslist trying to find a roommate in Nashville because I didn't know anybody in this city at all. And my mom was losing her mind, thinking I was going to be made into a skin suit or something on Craigslist.
Sounds like my mom.
I won't say the quote of that movie, but I have a.
Dear.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well,
oh my god.
she made a call against my will to this lady named Biddy in Arkansas. And she had a son here. His name is Josh Matheny, and he is all the dobro you hear on country radio. He's one of the best studio players in this town. And his mom and his grandpa were in a bluegrass band with my grandpa.
Oh wow.
And thank God my mom made that call and said, my baby can sing. She's moving to Nashville. Can y'all help her at all? And I was mortified, but thank God she did because...
Yeah, in Los Angeles, the answer would have been no.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They would have hung up.
Beep.
Yeah.
Well, in the South, that is what you do, is take care of your people. And my grandpa was an asshole, but thank God he was in that band.
It's
That's
your asshole.
about all he gave me was that connection, but I'll take it. And So Josh's girlfriend at the time needed a roommate, and things just started spiraling in a God way. That is how my relationship with God works, is he throws me a stepping stone when I'm running full speed at a dead end wall, about to hit it. And he'll be like, okay, here's an inch more of direction. And that's how my entire journey has gone, is when I'm like, okay, I'm out of road. I end up, something falls out of the sky literally and hits me in the face. That's how he has to communicate with me. And anyway, so Josh was that first one. Yeah, and so his girlfriend needed a roommate. I moved in a house with 3 girls I didn't know, and I started working 3 jobs at a time for 5 years in Nashville. That's what I did, and none of them had anything to do with music, and it sucked a lot. And that's where I built the grit that I have today, where
So you
I'm
just wrote on the side.
yeah, so I would work an 8 to 12 admin job in the morning in the Fifth Third building downtown, get a ticket every single day on my car because there's nowhere to park. And then I would convince any writers that I could, because the writing time in Nashville is 11 to 3 typically. Any of them who would push to like 12:30, 1 o'clock when I got off, I would skip lunch, go straight to a write. I'd get out of that write in time to go to my night shift, 5 to 2 a.m. at a restaurant, and I'd do it all again the next day.
Wow.
And that's when I started treating music as a job and not the hobby that I had and the passion that I had moved to town with. And about the time I was burning out, 2020, COVID hit, and I got laid off from my serving job. Worked in Midtown at a restaurant called Tavern for 4 years.
I love that place. I used
the
to
kale
love it.
salad.
I had it all the time. And the buffalo, the cauliflower buffalo.
Cauliflower.
So good.
I probably have served you several times.
Probably.
Looking like I've been hit by a Mack truck. That's how I used to go into work. And got laid off. They posted a freaking Instagram post laying off all their employees. Like,
Wow.
we were the last ones to know. And so like the rest of the world, none of us had any idea what we were doing. And I dove into TikTok and started having some success there, and just 400 some odd miles away from my family and everything I'd ever known. My husband's here with me, thank God, who has kept me alive this whole time. And I'm so grateful. I sure didn't think you got to do this crazy dream where you have to prioritize the art and career so much. I didn't think I got a partner in it, but another one of those God things. Like I tried to run him off and he wouldn't go away. And thank God for that. But anyways, that's when one of my friends had just gotten a publishing deal, and I wrote with her a lot. Her name's Autumn McIntyre, and she had just signed at Plaid Flag Music, and I sang a lot of our demos, and they kept hearing my voice, and they were like, who is this girl singing? And that's what got me some Zoom meetings. It was all during the pandemic. So I started taking Zoom meetings, with my now manager named Kendall Warren. And Courtney Blake and Stephanie Cox at Kobalt was their admin and a big mentor involved in their entire company. And they offered me a publishing deal right when I was about to have to move back to Arkansas. When I was out of that road more than God had ever let me run out of that road. And I got a publishing deal, which paid me a draw and meant I get to quit every job I'd ever had that had nothing to do with music. And I was a full-time professional songwriter in Nashville.
There you go.
Into 2020.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And you hear that story. I mean, it's that is such a meritocracy related story. And you hear it, like Morgan Wallen's got a very similar one
Yeah.
where he was doing demos for Jason Aldean, and he's like,
Yeah.
who is this?
Yeah.
It's like, does he want to sing that song instead of me? Because,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then found my manager out of my publisher and Kendall, and she's never been a manager before, but I recognized that same drive and hustle, and we both looked at each other and knew nobody's going to outwork us, and you can't, kind of like a weed, you kill us, we're going to come back. And so we've been, busting down these doors and knocking on them till somebody opens them, and just waiting on our right rooms to be in. And luckily I got to come in and play for Big Machine last year, and knew who I was, what I was doing, had some songs I was proud of. And again, with the polarizing thing, I'm a little scary to some people. And Scott Borchetta and Allison Jones were like, show me you're ugly. I call myself ugly country, and I think it's a compliment. And I showed them some of my ugliest songs, and not only were they not scared of them, they said, oh, that's in the first batch, we got to go cut. And that's how I knew I'd found my right home. And I didn't take any other label meetings after that. I wasn't interested in who could pay me the most money. I wanted the right team around me who believed in what I was doing, because like we all said, I could have made money a lot of other ways. I'm a pretty intelligent person and I work my butt off. So I could be a lot more financially successful than I currently am if I was in it for that. So,
well, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great story. I mean, that is a really powerful.
And also, is ugly country available on Spotify as a genre to select?
Ugly country. Yeah, I need to trademark that.
No, for sure.
yesterday.
Like this episode, it's called Ugly Country.
I think you should trademark that. That is absolutely, I mean, that's actually great.
Brilliant.
I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I try to do is dive into the things that make me me. That's a Dolly Parton,
Mhm.
quote that's spiraled over the years. I have a sticker that I make really ugly faces when I sing. I snarl, and my mom's always gotten on to me like, why do you make them ugly
But so
faces?
what makes it ugly country?
That there's nothing polished to hide behind.
It's raw.
I'm not doing it.
You don't mean the subject matter. You mean
No, I actually do mean the subject matter. Yeah, I cover a lot of really ugly stuff. But there's a lot of pieces to it that kind of make it the cohesive brand when you're trying to market something. Again, I've had to look at everything I do authentically through a business approach. And so like I have these stickers that have my snarl and my crooked teeth. My teeth are messed up. I've needed braces for a long time and never got them. Just something simple like that. I have a gap. But it's funny. People come up to my table and they're like, Gap Gang. So somebody who has a gap between their teeth feels seen and like proud of their gap because I embrace my gap. I cover content. I cover sexual assault. I cover divorce. I cover abuse, and I cover just drinking in a honky tonk. It's not all like deep and meaningful, but that stuff is important to me and it is ugly.
Mhm.
And so I'm the, when you pick up the rug, what's under it kind of artist. And so just leaning into that is how I keep my feet on the ground when it's really easy to try to chase all of these things that are working because I'm a human being and I'm in the middle of Nashville this long. So I'm paying attention to everybody and everything, but that's what I lean into.
That's incredible. That's a beautiful, I love it. I love all of it. So
Yeah.
the final question I have for you is when do we get it? When do we get all the ugly, fabulous? May?
Well, we are in the works on the new stuff with the label and like this week, everything is going down as far as getting that prepared, ready to go, coming super soon. But I did release my first EP and that's what got me that meeting with the label and got me signed in general. And that's 6 songs that if I cut myself into 6 pieces and had to put them out, grabbed one of my best friends, Paul Sykes, and we made the project that we believe in wholeheartedly and nobody told us anything to do for that. We just did it the way we wanted. So that EP is called Before the Record because we're working on that first record.
I love it.
And it's out everywhere. So that's where you can go check out and hear what's to come.
Great.
That is really cool.
It's I'm totally inspired by you.
Thank you so
can't love
much.
it. Yeah.
Likewise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one final question before we're done.
Yeah.
So I know you're in the middle of your journey here, right? And
Yeah.
I say this to everybody. This is called Road to the Arena.
Yep.
When you're selling out arenas, we'll have you back. You tell us how you feel about it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in the meantime, so as you envision everything that's happened so far and everything that you see around you and where you might go, do you think that this crazy music game is more about luck, who you know, running into the right person at Red Door? Or is it about skill, dedication, hard work, knowledge, ability? How do you make it in this crazy world? What do you think?
I mean, if I had that figured out, I'd be a lot further along than I am now, buddy. But I think it's all of it. I think there is a massive emphasis on people. And I hate that because like I said, just coming from a distrustful kind of background as a person in general, that's the first thing people told me when I got to this town was to find my champions. And it pissed me off because I felt like I was screaming my name from the rooftops looking for them.
Right.
And nobody was looking for me and nobody came out saying, here I am, I believe in you, until almost 9 years later. But once they did, I understood what they meant. So I will say it is all important. You got to be talented. When all of the AI, when they get you off the TikTok screen, when you get in front of another person and have to communicate what you believe in to them, you got to have the talent. You got to have the work ethic because hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That is something that's on my wall and written, on my forehead. I live by that. But you're going to have to depend on other people in this industry, I believe, whether I want it to be that way or not. And so I think it's a people town. The networking thing is a massive part of the music industry in general. And people who think they can do it by themselves might be able to for a minute, but it doesn't last very long.
It's a good observation. There are not a lot of miserable introverts who hit it big in the music industry.
Man.
No.
It's amazing. You're right.
That is so awesome. Well, hey, you got a show tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listening room.
Yeah.
Well, y'all swing by if you're feeling frisky because we're going to sing some ugly country.
Nice. Can't wait to hear it. All right.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Thank you for being here.
Fun.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.